Victoria, welcome to Demoted.
Yay!
Who are you, Victoria Garrick Browne? What do you stand for?
Natalie and I have known each other since we were 14 years old. Should I embarrass you and them with some stories?
Finding the woman in your life who support you, which you are for me.
And you are for me.
The rhetoric says women can't have it all. You can't have a loving relationship and do what we do.
I really have like zero tolerance for like competitions with women, and
You've shown me what a great partnership looks like. Why am I getting emotional?
oh, that's so cute.
Me crying.
Natalie!
Demoted.
Victoria, welcome to Demoted.
Yay!
Your studio would suggest otherwise for the people watching. We are at your Real Pod studio.
Yes.
But I'm so honored to be interviewing you.
I'm so happy to be interviewed by you on your podcast. You have come on Real Pod many times, so I'm thrilled to be on your show. And it is nice to be in my own studio, not working my brain and just being like,
just
ask me the
answering.
questions.
Ask me. Like, I'm tired. Today drained me.
I just get to sit here and I get to talk about myself. It's
Exactly.
great.
And most of the motorheads are what we call the demoted listeners,
okay.
are women. So
Love that.
This is a great convo with my best friend, the co-founder of the annual Women's Summit, which we'll talk about later, which is where Vic and I hop on a Zoom and talk about being creators.
Yes.
Can you just tell us who you are for the people who might not know you?
Of course. Well, first on our friendship, I think it's so special, and people are always, I think every video we post, it's like, wait, how do you guys know each other? Or they think we became friends in the industry. Wrong. Natalie and I have known each other since we were 14 years old. Should I embarrass you and them with some stories?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Please.
Well, first
they
of
only know
all-
corporate Natalie. They don't know 14-year-old Natalie.
As you guys probably know, Natalie is the coolest. She's the best. And in real life, her aura, everything about her is just incredible. And I feel like the first time I saw you was I had heard about you through friends because you were like the new girl coming to the high school, and we both played club volleyball. And I think I was like with my mom, and we went over to like the Vision Blue court, and I was like,
Oh, yeah.
oh my God, that's her. She's got she had a side ponytail,
Side pony.
feet pointed in. I don't know how your knees function now.
I'm total pigeon
No,
toed.
literally, Natalie used to love like this huge, like picture JoJo Siwa, okay? And then her feet pointing in and just like kind of sitting. Like it was so funny.
And by the way, Vic mentioned, I don't know if you guys picked this up, the blue court, which is going to go ahead and be the twos team. I was never the starter. I was never the college recruit,
No.
but I was the personality hire on the
Natalie
team.
was a stud on the twos team. That's true. Natalie could have played D1. You could have done all those things, but you are also very smart, as everyone knows who listens to this podcast. And honestly, like you took it seriously, but you also like, I think had an approach where you loved your social life and you loved school and you just loved your extracurriculars, and like you just, surprise, never took it that serious.
Never.
But
it was everything was a joke to me.
don't get it twisted. If it wasn't all a joke, you're looking at a D1 athlete.
That's so fun. Our producer put in the promoter demoted section Natalie's volleyball skills.
Yeah.
Which I knew you would say she could have done it. You always say Vic has always been my number one fan. Okay. And it's actually the reason I'm here today, being able to interview you, being a public figure, being an influencer, a comedian, because since I was 14 with that side ponytail on the side of the court, I've been told by Victoria, you are so funny. You need to do something with this.
You're a star.
You're a star. You're born to be something. It's like the affirmative, just like mom figure. I don't even know. But you told me to do something with this since I was young.
I'm so glad that you are. Like it's makes you think about how many people are like walking around with like untapped potential, or they never pursued their passion, or they were kind of scared to like make the leap and, you know, push past all their limiting beliefs about themselves and who they are in the world. And like, I think everything you've achieved is such an example of what's possible, like when you're talented and you apply yourself and you go for it. And I'm so glad that you started making those TikToks and for fun, and then got probably some of the validation, affirmation. Okay, it's not just Vic. Okay, there's some strangers. There's thousands of strangers that actually think I'm funny. And have, you know, then applied your Natalie brain and like bossed so hard.
Well
and now I hope you remember me.
Please. Okay. So tell me about like who you are, your career. Obviously, yes. I know you intimately. I sleep in your bed when I visit. Like, I know a lot of things about you that we won't even share on this podcast. But who are you, Victoria Garrick Browne, the brand you've built? What do you stand for?
Yeah, let's talk about why the people on this podcast should care about this episode and not be like, why did you bring on your childhood friend or an influencer? Where to start? It's always awkward talking about yourself, but I think as women, we need to just like, it's not, if I'm stating facts, like it's, men do it. I'm literally just listing you like what I'm a part of,
what
right?
you've done.
I loved how Alona Mar recently, the interviewer said, do you ever get imposter syndrome? And she said, no, I don't have that.
I love that.
And everyone's like,
I don't either.
It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing. Anyways, a little bit about me. So I am a former Division I athlete. I played volleyball at USC, fight on to any Trojans out there. And at USC, I was living the dream, but I also, for the first time in my life, started to really struggle with my mental health. I dealt with performance anxiety, depression. I had body image issues and disordered eating habits. And long story short, I delivered a TEDx talk.
You don't need to shorten it. I'm on the edge of my seat.
I was a journalism major. I thought I wanted to do sports broadcasting. And I started to realize that there was this like uncomfortable juxtaposition of like going to the media center and reporting on athletes' accomplishments, but then being an athlete myself who so desperately wanted to just someone to just ask me, how are you? And not talk about the wins and the losses and the points. And that's no hedging to sports journalism. I like literally respect the hell out of anyone who's made it as a sports journalist. Max is a sports journalist. It's really difficult and it's a grind. But I wanted to have like a bigger conversation about what I was going through. And TEDx came to my campus, as it does to, I think, a variety of universities. And I applied and I got chosen. And after I was rejected, which I think is important for people to know, there's like a very likely chance I never gave that TEDx talk, but fortunately I did. And it was called The Hidden Opponent on athlete mental health issues. I was 19, a sophomore, and that was really the start of what's led me here. I went on to continue public speaking, and I would go to college campuses and I'd talk about destigmatizing mental health and how to seek help and how to manage your anxiety and depression. And then the pandemic happened and the end of my speaking tour got canceled, and I got on this app called TikTok and I started to talk about more aspects of myself, like my body image struggles and my binge eating disorder. And I kind of found this whole new audience who was really invested in the conversation about, you know, the pressure that comes with honestly being a woman.
Yeah. Fully.
And then I founded my nonprofit, The Hidden Opponent, after the TEDx talk, which I'm super proud of. And we are a global partner of Adidas, and we have a lot of exciting things coming up. So on top of like the fun videos of my outfits on the internet, I'm the chair of the board and founder of The Hidden Opponent nonprofit, which provides accessible resources, support, and community to athletes. And then, I host Real Pod, entrepreneur.
Podcast host, you do everything. And one thing that I'll share is you're a first mover in everything that you do. So when we were in high school, like you're the first to do it. You have the confidence, the balls to just try something and you don't care. Like you tried for the TEDx talk. All your friends maybe had something to say. They're not going and showing up and performing in front of a panel. What was it like when you tried out?
Yeah, we had like a few rounds. The first one was like in the basement of the school library where you just kind of came in and you talked them through your idea. That was after you submitted via paper and they thought it was interesting enough.
Yep.
I think the second part is like, can they talk? Could we see them on the stage? Like, do they have the personality? The presence, yes. But then the final round I remember was going and you had to prepare actually what you thought your opening 3 minutes would be, which is like so much pressure. You know, they literally said,
Terrifying.
show up and give us what your
Hook
opening
us.
would be.
Yeah, give us a hook.
For them to decide, oh, that was actually so interesting. I want you to write your talk. But if you think about it, like, I feel like the opening to anything might change once you've written the whole thing, which takes months. Actually, no. So it stayed really true to the core. I'm pretty positive. It's like so blurry.
It was so long ago.
Digging through a lot of trauma.
No, truly.
But I think it did stay the same. And a lot of, honestly, to your point about like, it is confidence, but also it really, really was like very true to how I felt and who I was at the time. And I think for me, I found it easy because I'm like, this is really what I believe. I'm so passionate about this. Like if you ever had something in your life that you're like, it makes so much sense in your head that you would bring it up at a dinner table and you would answer a question about it. Like, so for me, a lot of what I do today, like not using filters and being really transparent about my mental health, it literally just felt like right as a person. So,
and you are the person you are online. Obviously, there's so many more dimensions to you, but you're not faking this. If you were doing that, you wouldn't be able to pump out content every day and do what you do.
I think it's just the power of like, if you really believe in yourself and you really want something, and you do what it takes to be successful, I think anything's possible. And I think some people will think like, oh, what is the key to success? And I always think about April Ross, who is an Olympic gold medalist, former USC player. But when she was on Real Pod and I asked her that question, like, you know, how do you achieve such great things? And it was so simple. If you really want to do something, you just figure out the steps. If you want to pass an exam to be a lawyer, like you get the books, you study, you put the time in. Like a lot of these things, people feel like maybe they need like a guidebook of like, here's how you become a content creator. You have to do this. Or me trying to make it corporate.
No. I mean, like I'm talking to my friend right now about like maybe leave your job and pursue this startup that like is fruitful. We've ran the numbers, it can work. And it's like, oh, I'm so scared. Like I'm leaving this structured thing. I'm not sure. It's like you can make $200,000 at a salaried position, which is an awesome career. Great. Or you can make $1 million uncapped as a startup founder. That like this, and it's a risk, but so you have to be willing to assess your risk tolerance and see if you're willing to do that.
Definitely. And I think if you do make a leap like that, being like really clear and feeling like really confident in that you've had all the conversations, you've talked about, here's my worst case, here's my middle, my best case, like I think that matters too, because if you're not clear on why you want something, if you're like, I just want to do this because my other friend left and started a company and like, I want to have that title, or I want to have, like, if it's out of ego, it's never going to pan out.
Never.
So I think being able to have really tough conversations with yourself about like what you want and why, because then you're going to follow it with the action. And then when the days are tough, because achieving anything difficult in life is difficult, otherwise everyone would do it.
Very.
You have to be able to know like why you signed up for this to keep persevering.
I love that. I think this first mover thing is very true. When you visited me in San Francisco, it was like kind of during the pandemic and you had just got on TikTok. I remember this. And you were like, Natalie, watch this. Like it was so early in TikTok where you would gain 20,000 followers in a weekend. And you were like, look at this number now. On Sunday when I fly home, this will be 500,000.
I remember that exact weekend. I remember the videos and everything.
Crazy. And I was like, 500,000. Taylor Swift sells out a stadium that has 60,000 people. And we're like, that's the biggest stage on earth.
Your memory is generous. I think that weekend I hit 200K.
Hit 200K.
But yeah,
you just did the thing.
But also I'll say, like, it's not like I got on TikTok and I started blowing up. My first videos did not do well. And it's very humbling to try something and not see the success. Like, for example, if this person leaves their company and maybe they were killing it and they're so good in the meetings and they're so smart and they're such an asset to the team, and then they start their startup and like it's not hot shit in the beginning. Mm-hmm. That's really humbling and it's really difficult. And I had the same experience on TikTok. Like my videos weren't doing well, but my YouTube and my Instagram was doing well. So part of me was like, oh my God, then I don't want to do that because it just feels comfortable and good to do the thing I know I'm going to get a star at. And then I was like, I just got to keep trying and like try different things. And then like the niche of like talking about body image and intuitive eating started to be really interesting to people. So then I like followed the scent of that.
I love that. And to apply that to like your corporate job, I think when you start, you're kind of a generalist and you're given all these tasks and you might hate half of them. Like I hated Excel, but it was a huge part of my job to do spreadsheets. Spreadsheets. I'm a creative, please. But I had to do it to learn that I didn't like it. And learning what you don't like is just as valuable as learning what you do like. Mm-hmm. And I think I hear from a lot of early in career individuals that are like, oh, I'm just miserable. I hate my job. It's like, if you've been there for 3 months, you don't know that you hate it yet. Grind, try, learn what you do like, and then you'll be able to pivot into a different career and follow that spark, that flame that energizes you. Mm-hmm. So I love what you said about it was so easy for you to give your TED Talk because it was natural to you. And I think you've built your whole career and everything since then.
I mean, if I had to give a TEDx talk on like chemistry, like I would have had anxiety. I would never been able to give it. Like literally like, and I actually blacked out like right before it. I swear to you, I had no memory. I remember being backstage like, I forget the whole thing. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say. Yeah. And then I like had a moment where I was like, Victoria, if you had no prep, you could go out there and you could talk for 5 hours on like this issue and your experience.
Exactly.
Like just trust yourself. And then it like all came back to me. So I think it once again speaks to like having a really deep passion for something. And if someone's listening, like, I want that, or I don't know what the passion is, or I'm trying so hard, but this doesn't feel right. I think when it comes to finding like what that is, finding your calling, your passion, or your purpose, I think you can start, if it's not innately obvious. I think you can start small. Do I like socializing with people or do I like being alone? Do I like working outside in the world, in nature? Do I like being in my office, in my room, and I feel comfort? Do I want to be a part of something that is deeply rooted in purpose and like impact on humans? Do I want to be on a part of something that's the next wave of tech that's going to be used 50 years from now? I think you can start small with just some of these this or that questions, and then that will help you narrow down like what direction to start heading.
And a lot of people don't take the time to do that self-assessment. They're like, I grind every day. I go to the office. I don't have time to like after work reset my brain and think, is this what I even want to be doing? Am I on the right path? Like, where do I want to go in life? What's your advice for like journaling, habit tracking, like any advice there on how to reach these goals or figure out what you love in life?
Yeah, the closest thing I can relate it to is the feeling of overwhelm I had as an athlete at USC, where I had this really intense and rigorous athletic schedule of training and traveling and games. And then I also had school. And then I also had, of course, like family relationships, friendships. And like literally I have a memory of being on my way to a class and just feeling so overwhelmed that I knew I was just going to break down crying, but I literally didn't even have time to cry. Like, I'm sure some people listening are like, I've got this job, I've got kids, I've got that. Like, I don't even have time to like take a breather and like this or that, like my passion, right? Like, and I empathize with that. And also, it's never going to change if you don't find some way to carve it in or make it happen. So for me, in my example, it was taking a mental health day. I did it once. Barely got it, was in the spring, wasn't really supported, like whatever. But
Coach
I was
is
like,
what the hell?
I need to do this.
One
like,
day.
you know, and so I think I'm not even going to try to put myself in the shoes of the experience of someone. Like I only know my experience and can speak to that. But I would say like, I feel you and I've had an experience like that. And also, what's your option? Just saying I'm going to sign up for this for the next 30 years and lose the opportunity, or like, I'm going to wake up 10 minutes earlier to write this down, or instead of listening to the podcast I like on the way to work, I'm going to have quiet time and just let my brain think and strategize, like finding a way to work it in.
I love that. And
asking for help too.
Asking for help.
Can your best friend who always says she's willing to help you, can you ask her to watch your kids on that night so you can go do the thing you need to do? Like, ask for help.
And I think finding the woman in your life who support you, which you are for me. As my
you are for me.
Best friend and someone who told me to do this career, who I am forever indebted to, and someone who genuinely supports all the women in your life. It is so difficult as women to feel like there's one seat at the table, I have to grab it, and sorry, like fuck everyone else, like leave them behind. And you pull up a chair, you are like, no, Natalie, come into this world that I know so intimately. I've been a creator since college. Mm-hmm. Come in, do it, make a video, and I want you to succeed more than me. I want you to run with this career. It's like people can say that and be like, I support women and I do that. No. You support women, and it's very hard to do, which is why I want to talk about our career and like being female business owners and having that confidence to put yourself out there, pitch your new idea, all that stuff. So let's talk about our annual Women's Summit.
Yes. Before we get to that, I want to add one anecdote to this supporting women thing. For me, it's not like it came super naturally, and I never had a thought about feeling like I needed to compete with friends or compete with you. Like, let's just talk about our friendship.
Yeah.
I think it's more common, and it's the easier route for women to think it's me against her. You've seen it in the movies. There's two mean girls. There's two heads of the cheerleading team. We've just seen it so many times. In every princess movie, there's like the princess and then the evil queen. Like it's programmed for us to think we need to be better than the woman next to us. And so I think it's an active choice. And like, I remember having a few, not many, but just a few different moments where like I made the active choice that like that wasn't going to be something that we had, like when you started blowing up in this business. And like an example that comes to mind is, I think it was it like E!News's top creators was one of the first big things you got.
Yes.
And I remember someone made a comment to me about that. And it was like, wait, like, are you like, shouldn't that be like you? Or like, but you've been doing this longer. Like, I forget what they made. It wasn't a dig at you,
Totally.
but it was feeding the seed of like, shouldn't you be jealous?
Yes.
And I remember in that moment, like taking a visceral, like, no, like I'm so happy for Natalie. Like, I don't need this at all. Like making a choice about my response to like set the tone for like the future. You know what I mean?
I love that. And you've always been like that. You're not afraid to be like, actually, let's not talk about that person. Like you're not the innocent bystander. You're in the room being like, oh, I don't want to talk badly about them. Thanks. I'm like, any Hootie and the Blowfish.
I'm so blunt and conversational.
You're so able to do that, but that's really important.
I've gotten better at like, I just also not my circus, not my monkeys, and like I won't say things. But when I'm being prompted with a question, like, you know, but I say that because someone might be thinking, but it's so hard, like seeing this girl in my office, like constantly succeed. And like, I feel like shit. And like, that should be me. And if I just root for her, like, then I'm losing sight of, you know, that's a scarcity mindset. Like the abundance mindset is like, we're going to be fucking besties. I'm going to hype her up. When she gets into that room, she's going to see how hard I work and that I don't get frazzled by this stuff. And she's going to call me into the meeting, or she's going to put my name in the hat then for the promotion. Like, I just think there's room for all of us at the table. And I really have like zero tolerance, especially at 27, for like competitions with women. And I think it's so immature.
I think it's ugly behavior.
It is ugly behavior. I don't feed into it.
Think about how much more empowered and enlightened you are when you're like, oh my God, yeah, my friend's starting this business. Like, I'm so pumped for her. I'm ready to quit my job and go work for her.
Go, yeah.
Like, I just met this girl who's starting a shoe company, and I met her friend at a restaurant. It was so random. And she was like, oh my God, you know, Kyle, like she's starting this company. We're all just waiting to quit our jobs. Like, we are so pumped for her. And just seeing that and that genuine support and that genuine, like, yeah, fuck my job. I want to work for my best friend.
Yeah.
Was like so empowering.
Yeah. And I think the ability for it comes from a place of security with yourself. And if you don't feel secure with where you're at in your life, what you have or who you are, like, of course the ego is going to feel bad and small that like you don't have the money or the paycheck or the job or the title or the follower count that a friend has. But like, I always come back to like the things in my life that feel so fulfilling and I feel so secure with that. Like it's not even like reminding myself I have these things, so it's fine that she has those. No. That's the ego sneaking back in to compare. I think it's more so like, that's amazing for this person, her, and I can hold space for that, because in my life, like it's not black and white. Like, I feel so fulfilled by these things that I do, or XYZ, and like everyone can win.
Yes. And also everyone has their stuff going on. Like, everyone's struggling with something. You see the woman in the office who's killing it, who's 45, who has this amazing career and
maybe never had time
for a partner
Yeah.
or a family. And like, you have an incredible husband and like all these things. It's just I think I also advise women, like, align yourself in your company with the women you want to be inside and outside of work. Like, do you want to work for someone who is a grinder, who maybe you don't want to like have a family, and that's great, and like your career is your thing? Align yourself with women who do the same. Maybe family is really important and balance is important, and you want a boss who will let you take your maternity leave and create an environment that's, you know, supportive of that. So align yourself with the people you see yourself valuing both within and outside of work.
Having the similar values is so important.
Yes. Annie and I talk about this a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Our small teams, Annie's who works for me, and we talk about like, we got to build redundancy in this business for like when we get engaged, we get married. Like, it's just us two right now. This is what we're making a new hire. We're like, we need someone to help. It's crazy.
Right. Sorry though, that long tangent, I cut you off when you brought up the annual Women's Summit.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about the annual Women's Summit, which is a very serious event. It's global.
It's coastal.
It's coastal. It's just Vic and I on a Zoom. And Vic has no shame, by the way. Speaking of corporate etiquette, she'll throw a 4-hour Zoom on my calendar. She's like, does this work? I'm like, no, that doesn't exist. We're not doing 4 hours.
But it's the annual Women's Summit. It's once a year.
So it's once a year where we hop on a Zoom instead of a FaceTime as we do weekly. Instead, it's a Zoom, and we talk about our businesses.
Yeah.
And we talk about our teams and what's next for us. And I think for me personally, my flame has dimmed a bit just with like my job. It's just becoming a little more plug and chug. I'm less like so excited for the next big thing, but one thing I'm always excited for is the Women's Summit. So what do we talk about? What do we do?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that might be because you have done so much. I feel like you are maybe just learning like your bandwidth and realizing like you don't have to go as hard. And I think when anyone's building their business in the beginning, it's how can I accommodate anyone? How can I say yes to everything? How can I be at every event?
More hours in the week.
Shake
How do we
every
make time?
hand.
Yes.
And then eventually it's a luxury and a privilege. You get to a place where that hard work has paid off and you get to recognize, I don't have to take a call before this time. I don't have to go to this networking event because I actually feel good with the context that I have. And there's always going to be a conversation that will move the needle, but like also I need to have balance and spend the night on the couch with my boyfriend or whatever it is. I think that that's great. And I think that everyone has that shift when they get over the hump, which is a huge win. It's like something to celebrate. But at our summit, I mean, it started really casually. Natalie and I would just sometimes be at lunches. Like I remember when we were at like Blue Plate Taco in San Francisco and we'll just start talking about business. And I think it's so easy for all of us to just have our head in the paperwork or the computer of what we're doing and not be able to look at it at a high level. And I feel like I'm able to look at like my friends' businesses at a high level and be like, this is low hanging fruit. Like you need to do it. You should, this is something that you could do. How are you not seeing it? But then with my business, I'm like, what? Like I like literally have mush brain looking at it because you're so in it.
So in it.
It's like when they say you bring an artist to work at the engineering project and then the engineer to look at the art and they like see the answer so clearly.
See something that,
So I think we were just like, let's take actually intentional time, not while we're like shoveling guac down, and let's have notes and like come with questions. And
Vic shows up with her notepad. We did one in person, right?
We did one in person.
We analyze each other's businesses. And I was like, here's what you need to do, whatever. And we took the time. And I think it's so helpful. Vic, for example, I just launched my workwear line. And Vic, I get a text from her, why the fuck haven't you posted about this yet? I'm like, wait, what? She's like, I need a pre-launch strategy.
I'm like, hi, Natalie, why was the launch on an Instagram story?
I need more marketing. Like, what's happening? What are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I just thought it would launch and everyone would go, which by the way, people did go.
It is.
It worked out.
You guys, Natalie is... Anything you touch is going to be turned to gold that you don't even need a full marketing plan.
No.
But I'm also like, what happened to the hot ass photos you sent me? I'm like,
Where'd those go?
like, those deserve to be posted.
I need to post them more. I'm going to go and post them now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Vic is always looking at my career, my business, my brand. And I think we do this for each other where we're like, wait, do this.
Yeah.
Like,
and I feel like you'll send me things and be like, you and Max should do this video or you should do this trend.
Yes.
Like we're thinking about each other. I think also what's unique is we both have like a brand manager. We both have a full-time employee. And I think it's like as women who are managing and leading and building, like it's difficult and there's not like a easy playbook for how to do that. And although like our companies are very different and, you know, the people we work with are very different and we have different positions and roles, whatever, it is still nice to have like a friend you can lean on and be like, oh my God, I'm struggling to figure out XYZ thing, and for them to validate you. And I love, no matter what it is in life, having someone you can talk to who you think has experienced it or can like mentor you.
yes. And you recently read for the corporate gals listening, a book on management.
I'm halfway through it. It's called The Making of a Manager. It was recommended to me by a really wicked, smart, intelligent woman who's so successful.
And it's of course sitting by my bedside now because anything Vic recommends
It's really
to me,
good.
then I do.
So I might be getting this wrong, but I believe the author of the book was like one of the first people at, I think it was Facebook, and then just kept getting promoted and promoted and promoted and promoted because they were there when the company started. And then she talks about like how she learned to be a manager, how to give feedback, like how to lead.
So let's talk about feedback, because I think one thing that women in business struggle with, and women in general with your friends, is like, oh, this thing's kind of bothering me. I'm going to sweep it under the rug and let it just grow and fester. Where the people who confront things and deal with them head on are the best people, and they're the most successful because they don't let these weights weigh them down. So what did either the book say on giving feedback? What's your advice on giving feedback to friends, coworkers, anything like that? Because I struggle with this as well.
I think in a work setting, my former approach was keep notes and give all the feedback at one big meeting. And I think that I realized I learned this in the book, but I don't think that was the best for me because it's like things are kind of bubbling up for then one meeting where it'll feel like you're piling on criticism, which doesn't feel good for anybody. And also now it might be so far gone that like you feel petty or silly bringing up this little detail. And I feel like it just affects the communication and the like fluidity on the day to day, especially like my brand director, Jenna, who's the fucking best. We're talking every single day. So like, I think it's just better for both of us. And I will say too, if you want to be a good leader and a good manager, you better say and be open to all the constructive criticism and feedback as well.
Yes.
And I feel like every time I can say to them, and let me know how I could be better, and let me know how I can make this easier for you.
Open the door.
And tell me if I'm doing something wrong. And also when that, not just saying that and pretending, and when the criticism comes, like taking
Internalizing it.
I think is important. It's not just because I'm the boss, I get to give criticism and you don't. It's like we both do, especially if you want to have someone who likes working for you.
If your company or your manager is not offering feedback that goes both ways and opening the door for you to give them feedback, you're not at the right company and you're not working for the right person. That needs to be part of your performance review cycle. And if it's not, doing something wrong.
It is a bummer if you have that type of boss, although you can't control it. So I would say, like, when I relate that to having like a coach, you know, in volleyball who, you know, maybe I wish would have been warmer or whatever.
Yeah.
I think you need to just compartmentalize and dissociate. And like, you need to mourn the fact that, oh, I don't have this dream boss that I thought would mentor me like my friend Shelly does, but that's fine. I know that my boss is going to be an asshole and I've just got to like let the comment just through me, because this job is giving me like unparalleled experience and this is where I want to be, and like I'm not going to let an asshole personality ruin it for me, you know, is how I would approach it if I didn't want to leave the company. But so now my new strategy for feedback is like immediate feedback. It might not be the second something's happening, but it's usually that night. Like I'll send an email at like 6, and I always, Sasha, my other employee who's amazing, will always tell me, she's like, I love how you compliment Sandwich, because I'll be like, great work today. Like, thank you so much for all of your hard work on XYZ. 1 point of feedback, and I literally call it out as 1 point of feedback is please ensure, like, I'm just making something up. Please ensure you check all memory cards prior to recordings. Period. I don't add so we don't have an issue with losing the footage like we did today. That feels petty. It feels zingy.
Feels like an attack.
They know. That's something Max has helped me realize, is like, they're aware. Like, all you have to do is say, next time, please make sure we check the memory cards ahead of recording. That's a fact. I think as long as your feedback is factual and it's not personal, like, that's important.
I struggle as a woman to take the emotion out of it. I feel like Annie and I are friends. We're together all the time. It's like we're both emotional women who are running this business together. And I struggle to not apologize for giving feedback, be like, you know, I'm sorry for saying this, or I struggle to not like take back what I said, be like, actually, you know, I'm the dumbest person ever. Sorry for saying that. Like, yeah. I delegitimize my feedback, and it's a real thing that I struggle with, that we've talked about before.
Yeah, and it's going to be really unique for your setup, especially because like you guys are together every single day, and like it's a one-on-one thing, and I've had to learn with like various people I've worked with throughout the years, like how much I want to be friends versus coworkers. And I think you do have to find a balance. Like, you should know the name of their dog and their family and where they go on vacation if they do. And, you know, take time to like, I'll call Jenna and be like, just calling to say hi. Like, how was your day? Like, you know, with no agenda, because I think it is important to like have a rapport and a relationship, and someone doesn't just feel like all I do is plug and play for them and like they don't care about me as a person, you know?
I like that a lot.
I would say, as far as your like concern with being emotional or being like, you know, worried about saying something, I think that all comes back to like the culture. I'm not saying this to you, I'm just talking to everyone, like, of setting a culture of like we just had a team offsite and we came up with like our culture words, and like one of our words is proactive. And so if there's a situation where the feedback has to do with not being proactive, like not checking the memory cards prior to recording, by the way, this is completely made up, it's never happened.
Yeah.
That's part of one of our words that we all agreed on we wanted to do. So it doesn't
like this
feel
isn't aligned with our vision.
Yeah, it's not out
easier.
of line. It's like, you know,
it's not this new thing that you now all of a sudden care about.
Right.
It's something we've talked about as a team.
Right.
I love that. And I think you can create that culture. Obviously, Vic and I own our own businesses, which is the dream. I hope everyone listening can start their own company and like love what they do as much as we do. And we're so blessed to be able to like sit here and do this every day. But I think you can create that culture on your team at a huge corporation. You can have check-ins with your boss where you say, how do you like to receive feedback? Mm-hmm. Where you ask, like, what are the 3 things that are most important to you this year?
Yeah.
And how can I align my micro goals to those macro goals that are your goals? And then how can we align those to the company goals? Mm-hmm. Burnout, we talk about a lot on this podcast. And one type of burnout is misalignment burnout, where you're not aligned to your company mission or vision, and because of that misalignment, every day feels like such a grind and such a struggle, where if you're aligned and an 80-hour work week feels easy because you're so excited about your day. So trying to find that alignment, trying to avoid burnout, trying to create these micro cultures on your team is something that I think we'd both advise you to do.
Yeah, definitely. And the last little tidbit I'll say is like, if you feel like, oh my God, but when the time comes, like, I just don't know what to say. Like, I wish someone could give me the script of the perfect way to deliver it. I feel you on that. Leading with your heart and being vulnerable, I think in any situation in life is always going to be how you're going to find success, even in the discomfort. Like, I've literally said, I know it's so annoying for me to send this email at 9:00 on a Friday. Like, I'll acknowledge what their first thought is going to be when they see an email from me at 9:00 on a Friday about something. Like, or I've had times where I'm like, actually, you just said this to me. Natalie and I had a bit of a like minor little conflict, and Natalie said, this is really uncomfortable for me. Like, I don't like having these conversations, but XYZ. And like, I think that's the perfect thing to say. Like,
Vic's the perfect person, by the way, to have these combos with. Oh my God. Vic goes, okay, first, let's take a breath. I love you, and this is totally fine.
And I'm so glad you said it to me, right? Like, I'm like, I get like,
so
I love
funny.
it. But I think
you're
that's
so good.
But I think that's great. Instead of you trying to call me and act like, as we discussed, it's, instead of like feeling like you're not yourself, I don't like the fake it till you make it. Like, it's totally okay to say like, I'm uncomfortable having this conversation because I really value our relationship, but XYZ thing. And obviously in a work setting, I'm not saying go to your boss and be like, hey girly, like, here's my thoughts. But I think you can say, I've been thinking for a long time about how I wanted to bring this up to you because I admire your work so much and I'm always trying to do my best. I just feel like I'm struggling to understand. Like, you know what I mean? You can deliver it in a way that it has appropriate language while still being vulnerable, not attacking someone.
I love that. And not assuming what someone's intentions are too. I think sometimes even Annie and I will be like, well, you wanted me to do this, or like the reason you brought this up is because you hated that I did that one thing. And I'm like, I didn't hate that at all. Why are we assuming about each other? You don't know these people. Like you have to lead with grace and assume people have good intentions. And then if they don't, fuck them, right? Anyway, let's quickly talk about our relationships, just because like as successful women, it's an interesting line to have a partner, have a successful business. The rhetoric says women can't have it all. You can't have a loving relationship and do what we do. You can't be a creator and make content and expect someone to love you. Like all these terrible narratives that exist out there. And your relationship, you got married, you were a child bride. You got married at what, 24? 25. Engaged at 24. Yeah. And you have always been just like, you've shown me what a great partnership looks like. And why am I getting emotional?
Oh, that's so cute.
No, it is. Me crying.
Natalie!
I think it's hard as a successful woman to find someone who supports you in your career. I think I've found it finally after Vic has seen me at my absolute worst, at my lowest. You've seen me through many partners. Poor thing, you've had to meet like 100 dudes. But what is your advice to someone to find what you have and find a partner who supports you in what you do, and like how to prioritize that when your career is so demanding? Like, how do you find time to find your person?
Yeah. I met Max in college. So he's my college sweetheart. I was a sophomore. So candidly, I became very busy while being with Max. So I never had to like fit a relationship into the busyness. Obviously I was a student athlete, but so was he. And like, we were on the same campus for a year. So that part, like, I'm not sure because we kind of just grew together. But as far as like finding someone who supports what you do, and I've seen it firsthand with a lot of my successful friends, like, unfortunately, there are a majority of men, dare I say, who want to be the breadwinner, don't want their if you're in a heterosexual relationship, they don't want the woman to be as successful or be working, and they want them to stay home, or they're like, but I'm making great money, so why do you even need to do anything, right? And I think that's just not going to be the person for you. So, I mean, that helps them weed it out themselves, I think. And Max, I feel like he would say this all the time about Natalie. He'd be like, if I was a dude out there, like everything Natalie's got going on, that's got to be like, for the right guy, that's got to be like such a win, so attractive. Like,
So true.
Like literally, like it's shocking that there's guys who just are so insecure and so like not ambitious that they want like someone small who will make them feel like big. And, you know, I think there's just a certain type of quality person, and I think that you don't want to be with that type of person. So that will weed them out for themselves. I don't think you should make yourself smaller for anyone. I don't think you should downplay your success or your career or your vision for anyone. I don't think you should be anything other than the version of yourself you want to be for anyone. And I can imagine it feels lonely and sucky and shitty at times if you really want a partner and you can't find that right person. But I feel like you have to know that you're worth it and that the time is right. I saw this quote I love so much, and it says, "The door will open for you when you are the version of yourself who's ready to walk through it." So you just have to know and hope that like it's all going to work out, and just keep that everything's aligning in my favor. Everything's aligning in my favor.
I agree. And I think working on yourself to get to that place where you're ready to have a partner and welcome them into your world. If it's a busy world, if it's a hectic world, it's so important. And I love you and Max. I love that you love Matt. And I'm excited for our next phase.
Yes, me too.
Let's talk about sarcastic ways that men should talk to women in the office. We've talked a lot about uplifting the woman in the office, and I think we should just really take some time to give some advice to the men listening how they should address the women in their office.
Perfect.
To the men out there, here's how to get the women in your office to love working with you. First one is address women as toots. I think we respond better to pet names.
And the second thing I'd say is 100% comment on her body and appearance when you see her in the morning. We love it.
First thing, yeah. I want to be commented not on my brain, but on my looks.
Yeah.
Ask her to get you coffee every day or like some kind of menial drink, even if she's your direct peer.
Yeah.
Right? Them bringing you something is a sign of power and they will respect you for it.
Always belittle her.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite one they can't forget to do is tell them to smile more. We love it when we're told to smile more.
Smile more. That makes me feel like I want to collaborate.
Yeah.
Ask her to wear something a little bit tighter to your next client meeting. Hey, a little tighter, toots. That helps.
Oh, when you throw the toots at the end, you're gold.
Oh, hitting two of these at once? Oh my God.
Overachiever.
Dream man.
God, men.
Vic just released a how to be a maid of honor episode on Real Pod.
We're both maid of honors this year.
We're both maid of honors this year. So exciting. I'm potentially entering into maybe a phase of life of getting engaged. I don't know. We'll see. I've dropped it on Demoted before. Vic probably knows more than me about that. But let's share like the types of bridesmaids and people you see on a bachelorette trip.
Let's stereotype the hell out of them.
So first is the single bridesmaid, which was, of course, me at your bachelorette. And this is the girl who's at Squid Row in Cabo talking to Domingo, asking the rest of the group, like, can we go back to Domingo's place and hang out? Because that was me, and the single bridesmaid brings the fun.
She reminds us while we're all there.
Yeah.
Next is the maid of honor. She's got a whistle if she's a good one.
Yes.
You don't want to be late. You don't want to dress out of theme, and you don't want to piss her off. The stress levels are already high.
Remember when Aubrey was the maid of honor for you and we were both in San Francisco? So we did a little coordination on like props and some stuff, just slight aside. And her roommate at the time threw away the stickers of Max's face, the fathead things. And you would have thought a world war was going to start, a third world war. It was terrifying. I was like, Aubrey, what can we do here? How do we like pay millions of dollars to get Max's face on these
More
little
like
things? $27.99. We're like, can we swing it? I don't
These
know.
Etsy businesses, you need like 2 months. You're not getting the tattoos before the trip.
It was crazy. So yeah, that happens. The next is the drunk gossiper. This is someone who, is like, I have to just be honest. I slept with the groom in college. Ryan and I, we kissed. It's like,
but it was one time and we both swore we'd never tell
and
you.
I still love you and I'm so happy to support you. No. Now you have a secret with the groom.
Wait. And then she comes back up to you later and says, and hey, good kisser, right?
Whoa. You're not allowed to do that.
No.
Fly home. San Jose Airport's right down the road.
And then there's the one, I played this role a few times, who thinks she's the maid of honor, but she's not.
The overstepper.
Just born type A.
And it's always like, not in your case, but it's always like the new work friend that you're like, Jamie, you haven't been around since she had before her nose job. Like, Jamie, I knew Natalie when she was heinous in high school.
The pre-nose job friend group and the
and
post-nose job friend group.
And post-nose job friend group, step aside. Because these girls know me. They were friends with me before. And then they might not be on The Bachelorette, but there's the junior bridesmaids. I recently went to a wedding and they're hotter than us. They're younger. They're pre-Botox. They
have more stamina.
They got more stamina. I'm like, okay, girls, get out of the bridal suite. All right. Like, I get it. You know, you don't have a wrinkle. You don't know what it's like to struggle in life. Like, step aside. Okay. This old hag's here to support Mackenzie. All right. We kept joking. We're like, the tension between us and the junior bridesmaids right now is palpable.
They've got like chokers.
They're 16-year-old girls. Like, we're we're just starting this out of nowhere. No, we partied the night away with the JBs.
And then lastly, there's the life of the party who's ordering shots at every lull in conversation.
You need it.
To which I'm always like, no, I'm hiding it.
Please.
I'm like throwing it behind my back, setting it down, hoping they don't notice.
You at Aubrey's like, we're done here. Natalie, that was enough.
My body can't do more than one shot.
I can't do a shot anymore.
Did you see how I hesitated to say I could do one shot?
You can't do one shot.
No.
Don't lie to the listeners.
No.
You don't know how to do a shot.
No, I can't.
All right, let's do a little promoted or demoted and get the people out of here. This is our tried and true segment. Do we like it or do we not like it? Is it promoted? We like it, or is it demoted? We hate it.
Okay.
I will start with the Golden Globes. Promoted or demoted?
Promoted.
Exactly. We went to the Golden Globes together. It was one of the best nights of our lives.
We graced that carpet twice.
Okay. We stayed at the Andaz. We graced the carpet. We showed up at 11 a.m. before any celebrity got there.
We didn't quite get invite number 3.
No one invited us.
But that's
back,
okay.
But we went once, which was great.
We went twice.
You went twice. You went with Lainey. I forgot.
Yeah, I did.
So you're actually a vet. They don't want me anywhere near that place. Promoted or demoted, the Wicked movie.
Oh, promoted.
Promoted. It's our favorite thing. We brought our moms to the premiere.
Yeah.
And it's the best movie ever made.
Yeah.
You're reading the book.
I
can't imagine reading a book about Oz. I must see it in real life.
I just feel like because I'm so used to the musical and the movie that it's not obviously the fault of the author because
you just read a text, you're going to be popular.
No, I'm like waiting for where's the popular song come in. It's definitely like really creative and stuff, but it's honestly hard for my small brain to read.
I mean, you read like Eckhart Tolle, whatever. Like you're very well read.
Honestly, easier for me. It's more of like the fantasy world, fiction, really big words. I feel like every page I'm like holding down for Kindle to give me the definition of the word.
Yeah, no. The last book I read was Goosebumps, The Curse of Camp Cold Lake in 2nd grade. So not a huge reader. Promoted or demoted, Natalie's volleyball skills.
Promoted.
As Vic said, which we will cut into a social clip just for my personal kind of spank bank. Vic said I could be a D1 athlete if I tried, which isn't true. But thank you.
Weren't you like asked to come on to the Notre Dame team?
I was asked to come on for one game, but that's because their 5 other setters were injured and I played club and they literally needed someone to set at practice. So I did a practice.
Then you could have done it.
I could have.
Yeah.
But I didn't, thank God. Promoted or demoted, strollers for dogs.
Promoted because I just don't like to hate on what makes people happy.
Vic's too positive for this section. Got it. Awesome.
This really scares me. I can't give hot takes on other people's life choices. I'm like, it's not my business to judge.
Literally, it's like, just do you like a dog in a stroller? Because for me, it weirds me out. I don't like that. Then the dog is a little bonnet. It's wearing shoes. It's like
that makes it better and more intentional.
That's true.
When you
commit.
That dog, the dog owns the human in that scenario.
Exactly. Exactly. Promoted or demoted, high-speed railway from SF to LA.
Promoted.
Which there have been talks about for years.
No, I need it now.
I need it. I need you to.
I hear you're going to be moving next to Aubrey, and I don't know if I can allow it.
I know. I'm moving so close.
I'm going to have so much FOMO. I swear to God, if you guys start like seeing each other every night, I'm going to have to move.
New prophecy in town.
My will.
I need you to come to SF. I need you to take a toll on your career.
You guys kick us out of the group, and it becomes you, Matt, Aubrey, and Wood.
Vic and Max left the chat.
And then Matt and Wood start talking about like this childhood friendship they have, even though they don't.
They don't. They just build it. I would love that. That would make my life. Okay, before we get you out of here, Dear Demoted is where our listeners write in and ask us for advice.
I know, Nat. I listen to every episode.
No, I would never do that. If I were you, I wouldn't do that. And anyway, this one is submitted by, it says Money is the person who submitted it. They get really creative with their names. So I'm just going to read this and then ask for your advice on this.
Okay.
I was recently hired for a company. Within a couple of weeks, the vibes were off. Parentheses, I hated it there. But it's 2024 and jobs aren't getting handed out these days. Fast forward to a month in and 5+ employees ended up coming forward to me stating my manager, male, had publicly stated he hired me, female, because of my good looks. He He told everyone he'd just take me to our trade shows and have me record product videos with my face on it. Quote, she's a rocket and her face will sell the product. This wasn't said behind closed doors in the corporate boys club. This was said to people across departments and seniorities. When I heard this, I stopped making any effort to produce videos and was fired 2 weeks later. Would you have just made the videos?
I feel like this guy's an asshole. Let's say that. I would need to know like the context of the company and if this was like their dream job, and then finding that out was like just gutting, but they also loved what they were doing. Like,
yeah,
because I think there's a way to like, I'm almost like go the Taylor Swift angle of revenge, where like I get in the videos, I sell it, I become the face of the company, get promoted, and then like fire his ass.
I love that.
And then when I fire him,
Then
I
he's
drop the
reporting you.
line, so sorry, but you were a rocket.
I love
You know what
that.
I mean? Like,
that's great. It's good revenge
I
route.
like revenge if you like the job, but if you don't like the job, like then yeah, get GTFO.
I'll share a personal anecdote. It's really important to have like a coach or a mentor who you can go to share these things, or even someone in the HR department. I was staffed on a project who was making like super weird comments, who was like, oh, we're going to travel together and stay at hotels and it'll be so nice and fun and we'll get drinks, and like insinuating that we would like hang out outside. It was just a little bit creepy and weird. He was older. He would make jokes like, we can just get one hotel room. Like, whatever. No, we're not getting one hotel room. You're a complete stranger. You scare me. And I told my coach at the time about it, and they stepped in, and I was unstaffed from the project and it was totally fine. And I was like so thankful that someone stepped in and did something, because I could have seen myself going to travel, having to deal with it in person, and that would have just been terrible.
So uncomfortable. And if you have a gut inkling as a woman, something is not right and you're not safe, listen to it. I was in college and a guy came 45 years old to speak in my class, and he was big in the business. And so I, of course, wanted his email and to ask him questions because I'm a fucking college student. I'm 18.
Yes.
And he emailed me like, hey, do you want to come to this premiere with me? And I was like, well, maybe he wants to show me and like he thinks I'm gonna be great. And I was like, no. So I just like said no, and then followed up. Okay, well, I followed up though. Can we have that meeting though, where I can ask you about like what I need to do to become whatever successful? And he was like, yeah, let's meet for drinks at X bar. And I'm like, I literally was like, I can't legally drink. Like it was, and then years later, he was Me Too'd.
No way.
Yes.
Follow your gut, ladies.
No.
Follow that gut instinct. That's really scary. Okay, so Victoria, thank you for coming on Demoted. I love you. I was not expecting to cry, but that's just because you create an environment that makes me so comfortable, and I love you.
Well, I love you so much. I think what I'll say is to everyone listening who's like, Corporate Natalie is just so funny and she's so smart and she's the best and I would kill to be her friend. Don't worry. I'm acutely aware of how lucky I am to call you my best friend and to have you in my life. I literally think I tell you that once a year.
You tell me that all the
We
time.
have a call where I'm like, I feel so lucky.
You're like, wait, thank you for taking my call. Just so you know, I love you.
Because you're the best. But thank you for having me. This was so fun. And I love getting to talk about business because I think sometimes people maybe look at what I do and I don't know. I think it's underrated, the strategy and the business mind and like
Everything
the things
behind
that
it.
happen. But so I love getting to do this. And yeah, if anyone's
Where
interested
can
in
people find you?
more crying and more tears, my show
Yes.
is called Real Pod. Natalie has been on many times. I think what you might like is our New Year's episode we did for 2025, where Natalie shares her personal and professional goals. And yeah, I'm on Instagram at Victoria Garrick Browne.
Vic, thanks for being on
Love you,
Demoted. I
Natalie.
love you. Send us your corporate confessions. Dear Demoteds, we want to hear from you. Like, comment, and subscribe. Cry on that like button. Admit your deepest fears to that like button. Find a good partner for that like button. Be a successful businesswoman, and then smash that subscribe button. And tune in next week on Demoted.
Demoted.